Street Fighter is the king of 2D fighters, and Tekken is the king of the 3D arena. These games have things that make them similar but also different. How do you take a traditional 2D fighter and cross it up with a 3D fighter? Well, that answer was solved with Street Fighter X Tekken, one of Capcom's most unique crossover fighting games. With an interesting history, a little controversy, and a scene that's still keeping this game alive. Today, we answer the question in this video, if the game Street Fighter X Tekken is dead. Street Fighter IV was a triumphant bringback of fighting games back into the spotlight. During a San Diego Comic-Con 2010, during a Capcom panel, during the height of Street Fighter popularity. Producer at the time, Yoshinori Ono, I slaughtered that terribly, was interrupted by the Tekken producer Harada. And they had a treat for fans. That treat was a new game called Street Fighter X Tekken, a Capcom-produced title that sees, you guessed it, Street Fighter characters going up against the Tekken cast. Now, Capcom's no stranger to crossover fighters. In fact, they've even produced fighters with Marvel, and even rival SNK. Capcom produced a title that allows you to play as either Street Fighter or Tekken characters in a tag-based fighting game. Seems like a slam dunk for Capcom and Namco. Well, things didn't go as well as they hoped. There are many videos, such as one by Muscles and Stumblebee's video, where they go super depth into what went wrong, but I'm just going to give a quick, brief rundown about it. But then we're also going to talk about the qualities of the game that still make people want to keep going back and playing it. Yes. So what I'm about to say is that this game was not successful. But why? One of the big reasons was the gym system. The gyms were looked down upon because they were just marketed to heck and back. Pre-orders to use gyms, and also special editions. So what's so special about the gyms? They enhance you in battle. You get to pick 3 different kinds of gems, and these gems can enhance at special attributes, give you bonuses for doing certain things during a match. Problem was that this caused a lot of issues. One thing, for example, is that it kind of slowed down some tournaments, because people would have to pick what kind of gyms they wanted out of a list of different gyms, and not everybody got access to all the gyms. In fact, the Special Edition had some of the best gyms ever, with little to no repercussions for using them. So, eventually, tournaments just got restricted to really not using gyms at all. Another big thing was the on-disc DLC. The on-disc DLC at the time was something very frowned upon, and probably still would be to this day if people really cared about it as much, but the way DLC is marketed nowadays, it's not surprising that a game that you love will come out with some DLC 1 or 2 months after release. In fact, it'll probably even get announced before the game's even released. And when hackers found out that the DLC was on the disc before the game came out, ooh boy, people were not happy. In fact, people were even hacking the game to play as the DLC characters online, even though they weren't finished. They were hacking the game before other people had a chance to even play these characters. Capcom also spent a ton of money marketing this game, having stuff such as a crossover TV show online, which is just a big reality show with people competing in Street Fighter. They had licensed music for the game. Just so much was going on with it. And it wasn't super well received at the time. Had a lot of issues, especially like people timing out matches, for example. But things did get fixed with a 2013 update, which improved so much of the game, and people really loved going back to it after the patch. But the writing was on the wall, unfortunately, because it didn't really help boost the sales Capcom wanted, so it didn't turn out too well. Which also means that the Tekken Cross Street Fighter Namco was planning on releasing never saw the light of day, put on hold indefinitely. Now, of course, things have changed. Now you see things like Akuma in Tekken 7 being a guest character along with Geese Howard and Noctis from Final Fantasy 15 and Negan from The Walking Dead, what the heck? And you even have Street Fighter V is doing super well for them. At first it had a rocky start, but then it turned out to do really well, and people were pretty happy with it. I have talked a lot about the negatives, and I did mention the 2013 patch did fix a lot of problems people had with the game. But is it still fun to play? Well, I've been playing it recently. I've been playing the Steam release, and I had the PS3 version a while back. And it's still really fun to play. So it featured a similar art style to Street Fighter 4 with that very inky look. So you have the Street Fighter characters, which were probably reused from Street Fighter 4, but then you have the Tekken characters, also in the similar art style. And it meshed really well together, and it had very bright and colorful stages. Some stages were influenced and inspired by Tekken, some stages were influenced by Street Fighter, and some of them were just kind of really all over the place. But in the story mode in the game is just part of arcade mode, which has to do with a magical box called Pandora. And we'll talk about the Pandora mode here in just a second. So, that part where I mentioned I was going to talk about Pandora and totally didn't talk about Pandora, well, I'm going to talk about it now. Basically, it was a comeback mechanic designed to where when you meet certain conditions, you could sacrifice one of your characters to give yourself the ability to use all kinds of things, like your super meter and stuff, give you some boost, but at the cost, after those 8 seconds run out, your character dies completely, so you would have to kill off a character. Now, in my experience playing and watching some clips from the tournaments and competitions, I haven't seen this used much, so it's not really, in my opinion, a great comeback mechanic, but I wanted to throw this in here because I said I was going to talk about it and completely forgot to talk about it. So, yeah. But the story is kind of meh, but who cares about the story, right? We're playing this for the fighting. We want to know how it is. So Street Fighter Cross Tekken, you go in, you pick 2 characters on a team, you can pick your gems, and then you just go duke it out with other people. And when you duke it out, you get to switch out with the tag mechanic. Basically, you can just start a combo and then tag out, or you could just raw tag in a person. A little different than your traditional Marvel vs. Capcom, as they just basically run in. They don't jump in and do an assist attack. But you can, however, launch somebody with a tag attack, then go in and continue a combo right after that to do some damage. Now, the other thing to keep in mind is that the person whose health bar goes to 0 first loses. So it's not like Marvel or any of the other tag fighters that you're used to seeing, where if one character goes, you fight the other character. No, basically, even if you have one character with full health and the other character goes to 0, you lose the round. So keep that in mind, that switching out is very crucial to keeping yourself alive, especially in tough situations. Now, there are certain advantages to different versions. Now, this game came out on 360, PS3, and PC. PC probably going to be the most accessible way for people to play it nowadays, but if you did luck out and get the PS3 or Vita version, or you still have a PS3 and Vita and you still want to download it from the PSN, then you can download and get exclusive characters, such as Cole McGrath, the 2 Sony cats who I forget their names. Also, you got Bad Box Art Mega Man, and you got Pac-Man. 2 great characters, though Mega Man at the time wasn't really well received, because it was based on the bad NES box art Mega Man 1, and it was seen as a joke and an insult to Mega Man fans at the time. Now you gotta remember, at this time period, this was the time that Capcom had canceled a bunch of Mega Man projects. And it was said that this Mega Man box art thing was made as a joke with KJ Inafune at the time, but they didn't really see the fact that they were parting ways, and it was already so far along in development that they just kind of left it in there, and people thought that it was a slap in the face, but he actually turns out to be a fun, silly character. And there is 12 DLC characters, but yeah, even without those Mega Man and the Sony exclusive characters, and by the way, there's 38 characters, not counting the DLC and the PlayStation exclusive, so if you don't want to shell out the cash, you would still have pretty much a lot of fun with the base roster. In fact, I pretty much like using either Ryu Ken or Harwang. Harwang. I cannot say his name to save my life with Ken or Ryu. So, yeah, I mean, you can mix it up with those characters and still have a great time. we probably should talk to somebody who really knows more about the scene in Street Fighter Cross Tekken, because there is a community of people still playing this game to this day. That's right, there are tournaments for this. Now, due with the Corona COVID age, everything's been moved to online, but I'm going to let Psychoblue, who runs Street Fighter Cross Tekken tournaments, to let you know about the greater community and give you a little insight about what to expect.
What is up, everyone? It's me, Psychoblue, conductor of the High Train, Mr. Hype Gems, hashtag Crosswires, hashtag Street Fighter Cross Tekken, and many other games. Start the week off by organizing tournaments, but what I'm best known for, as you can tell from behind me, is Street Fighter Cross Tekken. I mentioned the community earlier, so I supported this game, or I started running stuff for it in 2013, probably sooner, back in the late vanilla days, to be honest, but I can't remember much other than, yeah, I'll say 2013 I started running it. I'll make it a nice clean number. I've been doing this for a long time now, and it is nice to see who stuck with it. That kind of tells you who you can really rely on in many ways, not just in Cross Tekken. I talk to some of these guys just off the cuff about my workouts, or how work is going, or how just life is going. We kind of have to all check in on each other sometimes. Life can be tough sometimes. I mean, the last year is enough example of that, but new year, and I'm looking forward to continuing to have this one thing that centered me throughout the last few years. The last 9 years, this has centered me in some really rough times. So I'm looking forward to having this 9th year of having this game center myself through both the good times and the bad. I look forward to having a stage that I can set for everyone looking to do the same. To anyone looking to get into Street Fighter Cross Tekken, have no fear. If you feel like you don't know where to start, I created a Street Fighter Cross Tekken Complete Dossier. That is our Cross Tekken Bible. If you want to join our Discord events, and if you don't feel like looking through the dossier, the Discord also has the Jack Cross bot, where you can enter any single move or any single character. It'll provide you sample combos and specific range and properties of each of the moves of the game if you need a quick check. I use it a lot to reflect on matches that I've had with other people. If something I felt was surprising, I could just look and know better next time, so that, I mean, that's kind of how I won that Elo tournament. I remember that very well. The training I went through, not just getting my nerves in order, but also making sure that nothing would surprise me, and that was very rewarding, because at the time I felt like there was nothing I hadn't seen before, and I was very fortunate that my instincts were correct. The result of a big victory, and from there it's provided me something of a beachhead to continue supporting the games I love. Now I have some street cred to my name, and the events I run, and now the events I commentate, there's some repute, and I'm very proud of that. And I would not be able to do that without something like the dossier, and that's why I wrote the dossier, so that anyone looking to take the Cross Tekken journey, however long they wish to take it, they can do so with less headache than I had to endure. So it's there. If you want to get to Cross Tekken, we have everything you need. So look forward to it, if you tend to join us.
Alright, I want to thank Psychoblue for that interview. Now, there is a lot more to that interview, and I've just only included a snippet in this video because there was more stuff than his answers were longer than I expected, which is not a bad thing. So I'll post a separate video with the full interview. Basically, I just sent him the questions, he answered the questions, and yeah, you can even get to see his Street Fighter Cross Tekken Bible that he has. I don't think he called it a Bible, but wow, he's very passionate about Street Fighter Cross Tekken, and it's glad to see that there are people who still love games that others say, you know, there's no community, there's no fan base, no one cares about this, why are we even talking about it? But I think it's important to let you guys know that there are communities of people still playing these games, so if you still want to get into it, and you want to find people to play, don't give up hope. Don't assume that something's dead. Do some research, and I'm going to put links below on how you can find out how to get started in playing with others here in this community. And who knows, maybe we can play some tournaments, and I'll even put some links to Psychoblue's stuff down below, especially his YouTube channel, where he has clips of Street Fighter Cross Tekken matches and stuff. So if you want to see if it is for you before maybe spending the money on the game, then by all means. And yeah, I want to thank you guys for watching so much. This is definitely going to be a return to YouTube for me, and I just want to thank everybody here for continuing to watching the videos and continuing to support. We're a very, very small channel, but I appreciate each and every one of you from the bottom of my little heart. And thanks again 100 times over to Psychoblue for agreeing to be a part of this video. So, check them out. Check out Street Fighter Cross Tekken if you're interested. You can get it on Steam. If you have an older console, you can get it there. There are people in that community that do play on the older consoles if that's your jam. If not, PC is a good way to go. So, and there's also people that are very helpful in that community. I've jumped in that Discord a few times. A couple times having some problems with setting up the game, but they help me out, and I appreciate it. Appreciate them. So, enough gushing. I just want to thank you guys, and I just gushed. Anyway, till next time, everybody, game on.